Fantasy XV is a Japanese role-playing game developed by Square Enix. The game was announced back in 2006 and was... Wait, really? Like 10 years ago, 2006? Like the same year Oblivion came out with that awful zooming interface thing every time you talk to someone? Wow, okay, so that took a while. Anyway, Final Fantasy XV, known at the time as Final Fantasy Versus 13 because... reasons, was designed to be the darker, edgier older brother of Final Fantasy XIII. The game's initial reveal showed this emo guy sitting on this throne being all mopey before going outside to be attacked by these dudes in armor. Later, we'd see him kill the living crap out of those enemies, and oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you see that? Wow. So super long story short, the game was eventually renamed Final Fantasy XV when they realized it had been forever since Final Hallway 13 came out. Everyone went crazy, and the game went from being vaporware to actually being released in December of 2016. Most critics gave the game positive reviews, generally calling it a return to form for the Final Fantasy series, while also taking the series in a new direction. Though there was definitely a vocal minority who weren't exactly thrilled with the changes made to the game's early reveal. Though we're trying to stay positive here, guys, so let's bury what could have been way down deep inside, okay? Now, before we dive into the actual, game, there's a few things you gotta know. The first is that you're gonna be hella confused if you haven't seen both Kingsglaive and Brotherhood. The former shows what went down in the city, while Noctis over here was out pushing cars and checking out the local scenery. The latter tells you more about how the four main characters met each other and gives you some important backstory. Now, you can get by without watching neither of these, and honestly, with how the movie was, you might want to skip it. The game doesn't really tell you a whole lot of anything, so you're gonna either need to do your research or pray to lightning that you can piece it all together. So, on to the game. The game starts with a tutorial that teaches you the ins and outs of combat so that you can destroy your enemies with maximum efficiency. While the tutorial is optional, I strongly advise you play through it so you don't get pummeled. There's also a lore section that'll teach you vague concepts about the story, only you won't have any real context so far, so you might not remember it anyway, but I mean, it's still good to read over and have it handy. Of course, the whole thing with combat is like 20 minutes long, and you just don't got time for that, so here are the basics. You hold down circle to swing your thing and kablammy the enemy. Tapping square will let you roll, while holding it will enable ghost mode and allow you to go swishy swoosh through the enemy attacks. Pressing this when the button prompt appears will allow you to block an attack outright and follow up with the circle button, dealing massive damage and making you feel like a badass. We also have some R1, L1 thing that activates win mode, but it really only occasionally works because L1 is also used for team actions, and we'll get to those later, guys, don't worry. When you try to use this move, half the time it doesn't register that you're trying to activate the frickin' thing. But really, none of those even matter, because over here, we have the glorious triangle button. Okay, so let me tell you guys, pressing this will allow Emo Hair over here to throw a sword forward and frickin' teleport. It's awesome. You'd expect it to be glitchy or some other shit, but it works insanely well! You get bonuses for how far you teleport when going in for an attack, and it allows you to jump between enemies like you're playing pinball. Aside from this, you can target specific areas on the map, and hold triangle to rapidly regain health and magic, allowing you to do even more crazy-ish. Now, I really want to stress how important it is for you to hold your buttons. While the game may look like your standard action game from afar, tapping buttons as you do in those games is gonna be a bad time. The game auto-attacks or defends when you hold down the correct button, so make sure you're holding it even if the button prompt looks like you should tap it. You can even push your joysticks in different directions if you're feeling fancy, and hey, you can do backflips and sell your kidneys on eBay. Okay, so now that that's all out of the way, let's talk plot. This is gonna be a relatively spoiler-free video, so no need to stuff your shirts in your ears if you haven't played. The game has you play as Noctis, Prince of the City of Insomnia. Your father King Dude bids you and your friends farewell as you set off on a journey to go marry Princess Luna and... Wait, Noctis? Insomnia? Luna? What the heck is going on with these names here, Square? Why are they all named after night? What's next? We're gonna find out that these characters are part of a boy band called Twinkle and the Moon Moons? Is Luna's name gonna be pronounced L-Una, like Titus from Final Fantasy X, called Titus? It's frickin' Water Square! Why wouldn't it be Titus as in Tides? You can't just do this to people, we have feelings, you know? It's nothing holy to you! What is wrong with you? Afterward, Noctis and the rest of the forgotten members of NSYNC head out on their BFF Forever road trip. Things go south, and you end up having to get these mystical weapon things to stop the Empire while searching for your girl Luna. Now, there is a bit more to it than that, but honestly, the story's kind of weak here and not really the focus of the game. Not only is it like half the length of any other Final Fantasy story, but many of the beats fall really flat, especially in the early half of the game. There's a lot of it where you're just running around doing things without really knowing why. And most of the story occurs via conversations your characters have while running around the world. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this style of storytelling, but for an epic role-playing game set in a foreign universe, it doesn't really work all that well. All you have to go on is the dialogue, but because you don't get to see any real body language, important events lose a lot of their oomph. In the instances where there are actual cutscenes, the game does a bad job of explaining why any of it is important, or showing the motivations for why a character behaves the way he does. And because they seem to be so worried about the dialogue feeling natural, it can be a bit hard to follow as they don't really give you context for any of it. And then the game throws in clips from the Kingsglaive movie, but they kind of clash and don't really flow all that well, so it's actually almost better if they weren't in there. And while the second half does improve on this greatly, and it adds more cutscenes more often, there are still gaps missing, and unless you listen to all the radio broadcasts and read all the cosmology books along the way, you're going to be a bit lost on some of the finer details and even some of the bigger ones. I suppose this is to be expected when over half the game had to be cut due to time constraints. Contractually, the game had to be released before the end of 2016, so a lot of things the developers wanted to put in just didn't make the cut. It's a bit of a shame, really, when you see all the potential the story had, but, you know, hey. The game turned out pretty fantastic anyway, so, I mean, we should really just all be happy it came out at all. Additionally, the game is going to be updated with free DLC that is going to add in additional cutscenes and story content, so everything I'm saying here might not be completely relevant as development progresses. That said, the story itself isn't all that bad. Sure, the execution leaves a lot to be desired, but the actual core story, when boiled down, is kind of a refreshing tale. It's a simple story of a prince retaking his throne and saving the world. And guys, I mean it when I say the second half is a lot better than the first half if your primary motivation for playing is to experience the story. Starting around chapter 9, the game can get pretty emotional. So much so that you might have to turn the game off and listen to Stand By Me for a few hours to calm yourself. Alright kiddos, so I need to address something. I've seen a lot of people online say that the second half of the game is too linear and that you're stuck on one path. But it seems to me that everyone missed this little cutscene where you're told that you can go back to the past and further explore. At nearly every hotel and resting point post Chapter 9, you can choose to speak to Best Doggo over here and visit cities as they are in the past. This allows you to go back and explore the open world at any time, and you can do your side quest things and talk to your waifus without having to stay on the plot train for too long. That said, the story is pretty engaging later on, so you might want to finish that before going back and running around like a headless chicken. Just saying. On top of that, the characters themselves are all extremely likable. The near constant dialogue really makes their friendship believable, and it helps you feel connected. There isn't much development per se, but the four main characters are all interesting in their own right, and the interactions they have are one of the highlights of the game. There are also a ton of other intriguing characters, but unfortunately, they don't get a lot of screen time. In fact, almost everyone besides the Fantastic Four over here get very little screen time at all. Like, who even are you, Jared? Why should I care about you? There's not even really any side quests that expand upon most of them, which is honestly a real shame because I wanted to know more about Ariana, but I guess I'll just go sit in a corner. Still, when they show up, they're great. 10 out of 10, these guys are Kuyo. So outside the main story, you got side quests. These come in your standard run here, collect this, fetch questy sort, and then you got hunts. Now hunts are little more than go to the thing, fight the thing, kill the thing quests, but don't let that put you off. As discussed, the combat is the best part of the game, and these hunts give you access to monsters you don't get to see otherwise, such as the monster that supposedly takes 3 days to fell. Occasionally, these hunts will even lead you to optional dungeons that are super intimidating. These will fill you with the same sort of excitement you got when opening presents early on Christmas morning. You know, the sort of not supposed to be here but screw you dead anticipation. Part of the reason these are so dang cool is the world is massive and there are plenty of things to see and do. You got your mining, your gathering, your confusing cities, and those X prompts that make you jump when all you wanted to do was talk to the guy. Why are you doing this to me? I have bad knees. I'm not strong enough for this sort of thing. But seriously, the world is breathtaking. It feels like a place that could actually exist, unlike Final Fantasy XIII's world, or Sweden. There aren't really any drastic changes in scenery, but there doesn't have to be. Running around the world feels great because it feels like an actual world, and with all the little details the developers threw in, like that booty, the game is a joy to explore. And what better way to do it than in your very own car? The Regalia is the vehicle you'll use to traverse the world, and it goes a long way to making the game have that whole best friend road trip vibe. You don't really have a lot of control over it, so you're primarily just sitting there not really doing much, but good gosh guys, look at that scenery. And that hair. I can't take this game, guys, it's too beautiful. How is this possible? Anyway, the Regalia would be kind of a drag in most games, but because the world is so beautiful, it doesn't get old. Hell, there's a fast travel system that allows you to instantly jump to any place you've been, but I don't really recommend using it often during your main adventure. Aside from the brilliant scenery, you can also play the soundtracks from all previous mainline Final Fantasy games, so you can loop Roses of May on repeat until your ears fall off. I mean, that's good stuff, guys. Good stuff. It should be noted that you can customize your wheels at Sid's Garage. Everything from color to decals to performance can be changed here, though you do need to buy and unlock all additional upgrades to really make your ride shine. Additionally, you can give your car Red Bull wings and get it to fly, though this is only possible after you beat the main story, and you're gonna crash a lot. So, maybe don't use it often. I don't know, it's your life. Do what you want. Aside from your car and your big ol' feet, you can also rent chocobos. These can also be customized because, okay? And they allow you to run all over the landscape. Pro tip though, the music that plays during these rides can get extremely grating, so make sure you grab yourself that portable MP3 player as soon as possible. This will allow you to listen to any of the car tracks while riding your feathered friend, and it's downright a necessity if you're going to be doing any amount of traveling. Which you will. Provided you don't just stick to the main story. Which you won't, because this game is huge. Note, upon going to edit this section of the video, I discovered that it is actually not possible to listen to the MP3 player while riding the Chocobo, and instead, you can only listen to it while walking. This is... Why? Why did you do this, Square? Why would you make it so we have to listen to the same grating track over and over? There's no reason for this! Come on, please! So regardless if you focus on side quests or just go gung-ho through the story, you're gonna be doing some fighting. Compared to some of the previous Final Fantasies, there is quite a bit less fighting in the main story. But there's also less main story for there to be fighting in, so take that as you will. Anywho, aside from the basics outlined earlier, there is more to know about combat. You see that little meter down in the bottom left? That represents your team moves. These are activated by pressing L1 and pressing the corresponding direction on the D-pad of the character you want to initiate a move for. See, I told you guys I'd come back to this. These moves are pretty powerful on their own, but when used right as an enemy is unleashing hell, you can nullify their damage as you are completely invincible during these. In addition to these special moves, you can also occasionally summon a super powerful entity. Occasionally being keyword. The game will give you the L2 prompt at specific story-based times that let you summon one of these creatures. These can also pop up if you suck and function as a win button of sorts, though you definitely shouldn't rely on them. In my 27-hour playthrough of the main story, I only came across like 6 of these, but your mileage may vary. At any one time, you can equip up to 4 weapons on Noctis, and these can be switched on the fly. Different types are good against different enemies, so if you see orange, you're doing good. You can also equip magic in the form of lightning, blizzard, and fire. These must be crafted via the menu's Elemancy option, and depending on the combination of elements and items you choose, you'll get variations of these spells that do things like strike multiple times or heal your party. After each battle, you'll be awarded with experience. This allows you to level up at campfires and allow you to do more damage. You'll also get these AP points as you progress that can be used for all sorts of neat things like new moves, upgrading specific parts of your arsenal, and more. You can also equip your heroes with different gear to bring the pain, which can be acquired from the various shops around the world. And be sure to pick up the CDs for your cars, guys, because seriously, Roses of May, guys, don't let me down. As for where you'll be fighting, well, that's pretty much everywhere. You got your randos on the overworld due to the dropships, your special monsters that only spawn as part of hunts, and your dungeons. There are a number of dungeons in the game, and they are all awesome. I'm not going to show many here because spoilers, but trust me when I say they blow the dungeons from every other Final Fantasy out of the water. They fit so naturally in the world, and they're just really good guys, okay? I can't explain it. And you know what else is good? Arden. Arden is a perfect angel and a buttload of fun, and he's just an all-around good guy, okay? You know what isn't good? This bitch. Chapter fucking 13. This chapter is the opposite of everything good in the world. It stands for everything that the game didn't up until this point. You want to explore? Nope. You want interesting combat? Well, we're stealing your weapons. You want to see your friends again? Well, too bad, Susan. Daddy isn't coming home tonight because stab. So stop asking. This chapter is so long and so boring that the developers have stated that they are going to be patching it. And Square, if you knew this section was this bad, why did you release it? You had a good thing going and you threw it all in the garbage. I gave you my heart and you stomped on it, you monsters. Tabata, why? Alright, so that's Final Fantasy 15 in a nutshell. While the game had a rather rough development spanning over 10 years from first being announced, the game turned out pretty okay in my eyes. You got your hot anime boys, some heart-wrenching story beats, some of the most satisfying combat in the entire series, and a beautiful world that'll keep you coming back long after you've beaten the game. And hey, the gang's even getting their own DLC content, so you'll have even more time to get up close and personal with these characters. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below. Seriously, Susan, don't be a little bitch about it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. But first...